I'm in Melbourne, Florida, and today is the day I finally get to see Apis Core printing concrete. We've visited many Apis Core buildings in the past and had their CEO on the podcast, but we've never seen them printing in person. Their building in Dubai was the biggest printed building in the world for a long period of time, from 2017 to just this year. And this is their first permitted project here in Florida, which is going to be residential. They're printing the first section here with the printer, which is going to be moved ultimately to each section to complete the home. They've got Frank, which is the printer, Gary, which is their mixing system over here, and Mary, which they use to transport the concrete behind it. Even though the concrete looks like the fun part coming out of the printer, the mixing system might be the most impressive development on this job site, and we'll get into that more later. One thing to note is the bag, so that it prevents the dust from being on this job site. You can tell relative to some of the other sites, there's not a lot of concrete dust, there's no clouds, which is great to prevent the amount of silica people are inhaling in their lungs. So that's an important way they're adding to the safety of this job site. Apis Core has really come a long way. What are the newest developments on this print different from your other prints?
It's a lot basically. We have automatic cleaning system. Basically we have a self-leveling system, and right now it takes only 5 minutes to level.
How hard is it to calibrate the position to make sure the walls are straight relative to each other?
It's relatively easy. We used like a 2-point system. We moved the extruder, jog the extruder to the corner of the slab, and save this position. After that, move to the second, and the G-code will rotate automatically.
Based on the corner of the slab?
Based on the corner of the slab.
Do you have a reflector or something to accommodate that?
No, not really. Just eyeball, yeah. The extruder is pretty small, and you can basically move it super close to the edge of the foundation.
Relative to many of the other printers we see on this channel, the system is pretty small too. It's able to fit in this small trailer and with remote control operation be moved right on site. No large gantry system that takes 2 days to set up and 2 days to dismantle. It fits right in line with their mixer system, and you can see this 20 times sped up time lapse of them getting it into place. Once everything's going, it's really nice. Their material looks super smooth, and they've got a lot of thoughtful details in their custom systems. I really appreciate their vertical integration, coming up with many different systems specifically for printed concrete. Lots of companies will try to use off-the-shelf parts, and they don't always work out as intended because 3D printed concrete is such a unique application with a material that needs to fit through a tiny hose and then be buildable enough to support each layer one after another. I'm impressed with Apis Core's work. I hope to see them printing many more buildings in the future. That's not to say they didn't have their fair share of headaches on site, but that's what the cutting edge is all about. It'll be interesting to see one of their clients printing, as it's always easier for the founders to operate their own equipment.
Hi, my name is Trevor Ragno, and I'm the Director of Construction and Building Technologies here at Apis Core. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the way we're going to be vertically reinforcing our wall cavities. Now, we're copying masonry construction, and typically when you're working with a concrete block wall, you're doing something called a lap splice, where there's a vertical dowel or a piece of reinforcement that is sticking out from the slab. Then a clean out hole or a small cavity at the bottom of the wall is cut out so any mortar drippings can be removed. A second piece of reinforcement can be inserted down the vertical wall cavity, and then those two, the dowel and the vertical piece of reinforcement, can be coupled, usually using a rebar tie. These capsules are inserted into a hole in the foundation, and you can see there is a powder up top and a liquid down at the base. Now, with a single tendon, we can avoid the most common type of wall failure with traditional concrete block walls and speed up our construction process.
Right now, they're printing the last layers until they put the top of the window opening on, so that they can continue printing on top of that in one continuous layer for the final top sections of this wall segment. We'll see their cleaning process, which supposedly only takes a couple minutes, so it should be really cool to see their unique solution. Cleaning is always an important step to make sure your equipment stays good for a long period of time. So let's see how they do it. Now they'll empty the hose and run until they have clear water coming through. They'll probably put some sponge balls through the end, and that'll get rid of all the leftover sediments that while they put the top of the windows on, the material won't clog the hose. Now they've got water running through, and this will prevent a clog from forming in the hose while they put the top of the windows on. All right, so we're standing here in front of Gary. What's going on here?
Yeah, basically we designed this machine from scratch, and right now we have a almost military grade. You can pull out each component separately from here. For example, the air compressor, it's an off-the-shelf component, the chiller for system, the high pressure washer, and the pump for primer, water metering pump too. Yeah, it's basically we designed it to be able to swap the components if you need it directly on the construction site.
What features were missing from the off-the-shelf mixer pump systems that you needed to develop?
Basically, volumetric pump for water. You can rely on the inlet pressure. It changes, and you can, in this case, you can't control the ratio between the water and the dry material. You need a volumetric pump. We have the volumetric pump here. We also have a mechanical connection between the feeding screw that feeds the dry material and the metric pump. Basically, you can't change the ratio. Yeah, the high pressure washer embedded. It's really convenient to use it. Yeah, and we also have special pump for primer. We add the primer before we print to make like move material better inside the hoses. We have a temperature sensor of the water. We have another temperature sensor inside the material hopper. We have a pressure sensor on the inlet in the water to check like the water constantly. Because if you lose the water, you can't keep the same water ratio. Yeah, it's really super important.
If you'd like to get a job working in the 3D printed construction industry, you're in luck. I started Human Robot Army just for people like you to be able to find innovative construction automation jobs, mostly in 3D printed concrete. We currently have clients in every corner of the United States and even one in the Middle East. Also, if you are a 3D printed construction company looking for the most passionate talent, the people with grit who are excited to be there, reach out to me and ask how Human Robot Army can help you with your staffing needs.